Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the X1st stage. Today we have Stefanie Palomino, CPO and General Manager of Room, and Cevat Yerli, the founder, CEO, and chairman of the Tomorrow Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Cevat and Stefanie.
Thank you. So, we are here today to talk about gaming-inspired experience design for the metaverse. The metaverse, as we see it, defines the future of the gaming, right? So gaming started with the single-player world of content from the 80s and 90s and has brought us to all the way to 2003, and it will bring us all the way to 2030, where we will hit $1 trillion and 6 billion gamers, defining the metaverse. And how do we get there, right? So in a bunch of steps. So first, like I said, we all know the Ataris, the Nintendos, right? Or the PlayStation 1s, and so all this was about single-player gaming, and this brought the market to about 1 billion gamers and $10 billion revenue. So it's like $10 revenue per head, and this brought us to 2003. Beyond 2003, we have started to play online games, connected games as they call them, right? So connected games is the era which we are defining ourselves in now. So from 2003 till 2022 today, we have grown from 1 billion to 3 billion gamers, and from $10 billion to a $200 billion economy, right? So if the math is correct, we're talking about like $67 or something like that, rounding up per person. So users have spent more money based on more connectivity and more engagement. And this brings us to 2028, where we'll hit 4 billion gamers and an estimated market size of 350, which we think 2028 will be the ignition of the last stage of the game industry, which is the metaverse. In the metaverse, we're defining as interconnected game worlds or entertainment worlds with interoperable assets like items and like goodies that you own, and costumes and avatars, all kinds of assets that you want to bring with you from one world to another, right? And you'll be able to sell those assets from in any way you want, right? So there will be freedom of liquidity, there will be freedom of commerce from that perspective. And we think that the game industry is going to reach eventually 6 billion gamers in about 2032, 10 years from now, and the market's going to hit more than $1 trillion. And if you make that math, you're looking at about $150+ spend at that time. So the spend per user is growing as well. Next to the game industry's evolution to the metaverse, we also have our real life. Our life is not just about escapism, right? Our life is also dealing with our daily activities like working and shopping and going to doctors, or heck, also going to school and dealing with lawyers and all kinds of things, right? So life is more than escapism, and escapism probably is just about 5% of the daily time you spend. So we are looking at the evolution of the internet from information like Alta Vista, Yahoo, and Google brought us information at your fingertips. Then Facebook brought us connections, and like Twitter and also Zoom has connected people, right? And we're looking at the third internet now as an evolution to deal with our life, which we call Internet of Life. Internet of Life is about getting together. It's about togetherness. Like after having connected to build relationships, you want to get together. Just like in real life, connecting means I change cards or I take your number. But really getting together means sharing a space. So the Internet of Life is about sharing spaces, but how do you make the spaces interesting, right? And what purpose are the spaces? So every space has a purpose, right? And the purpose is encoded in experience design. Every game has usually environments that are encoding some interactions. If I want the player to sneak around, I encode experience design into the language and make him sneak around. If I want him to be scared, etc. And Internet of Life is about encoding spaces with functionality. For example, this is like a government style setup maybe, or well-being center. Could be doubling for both of them. And you have the ability to talk to people, get counseling or support. And or government service centers might interact with you for citizen services, right? And But it's always about the design of the space and how you make sure that experience is driving what you want to do in that space. So it has a purpose that has a quality to it. And that drives interaction, and that makes this encounter a very interactive one. All of this is empowered by the technology which we call Reality OS. It's a ground up from zero written technology, has its own groundbreaking 3D engine built in. It runs on all the browsers. Yeah, it's a browser first, approaching 3 billion devices to be able to use it. And it also features the most advanced and privacy protecting social presence technology, which is about how we are present while protecting my background in those video calls, right? So, and all of that inserts you in a 3D space and makes sure you have an amazing experience. And again, when you get together like this and have a purposeful design in the experience design, you're going to have a memorable moment. And that is what we are about. We want to be sure you build best possible relationships with memorable moments. That being said, we also launched yesterday Room, available on the room3.com. It's going to be introduced by Stefanie, the Chief Product Officer and General Manager of Room. Stefanie, take it on. Thank you.
So when we talk about the metaverse, we see it's another technology evolution. So what is the purpose of technology? It's really to serve humanity, to really make our life a better place. But what we do in every evolutionary step, we just forget what happened before and do the same mistakes over and over again. So what is that? It's like technology-driven instead of human-driven. So we say, okay, what tech can do doesn't mean that people really need that. So when we make and design the future of all our children and ourselves, it's designing the Internet of Life. It's really about checking what people really need and really want. So the question is, do I want to be the whole day an avatar? Do I want to be end-humanized, losing my microfacial expressions? And this is a lot what humanity over our whole culture is like about human presence. We really see when someone is not another human. We really recognize it. It really interrupts our communication. And Room is basically the first step of the Internet of Life, enabling better communication of people. So what we need for that is human presence. We need to have an impact on the room we are in. It has to be interactive. We need to be placed in the room in a way we feel like, for example, a reflection on the table. So we are really there. And in a couple of seconds, I will show you a demo, a live demo. And we have some colleagues waiting from Frankfurt in Germany on you, are live in the call. And give me 1 second. Cevat, please entertain them when I change now.
Well, I could give you a dance, but I'm not going to do this. So instead, I'm going to tell you about Internet of Life a little bit more. So in order to make Internet of Life life-like, we need to mimic the mental model of how we tick, how we function as human beings. So what happens is, when we enter a space, we anchor ourselves in a context. That context then is shared with other people. Let's say we are sharing a meeting room right now. In that meeting room, you have people across the table, on your right, on your left. The key thing now is that once the meeting is finished, and it was a bad or good meeting, you'll memorize it in something called the memory palace. That's a neuroscientific term that is based on the way we function. So in order to recall the memory, you revisit your memory palace, literally. And so, subconsciously actually. And so by doing this subconscious retrieval of information, you are just tapping into your memories, right? And to remember that. With alternative ways of video conferencing, that memory palace cannot be established because there's no context. There's in fact contextual conflict because everybody is in their own context that is not shared, right? So as I bridge the time now, the demo is live here. The internet connection is a bit weak, but it works. And here you can see Stefanie and colleagues in Spain, Germany, and Dubai sharing a meeting and sharing a space with the positioning, the spatial positioning with real life identity, with non-verbal communication, because you can't hear them right now, but you will hear in a bit. And the fact that it's non-verbal means you can see their expressions, their body language, their mood, right? Because 80% of communication is non-verbal. And because it's non-verbal, the other 20% can only convey so much. If you're in an avatar, you're effectively removing 80% of your communication capacity. And you sort of start by minus 80. And then you have to catch up with your voice, right? So, and that's great for games, by the way. So, Stefanie, you want to walk us through more?
So the important point is we make this accessible really for 3 billion people. That means on the mobile phone, on the tablet, just on your browser. So you just saw I was in the room, now Cevat is inside. So there is no extra technology, no VR, nothing, just one click and you are inside. And have an amazing time with your friends or family or your colleagues together. So this is the start of a lot of different verticals. We can help hospitals when patients talk to their doctors. We can help banks, to make very good consultancy talks with people. So everywhere when we need basically to have a good conversation, we can enable that, and also with a lot of different kinds of extra features. So yeah, I think when you have any questions, more than welcome. But I think we are very happy to give you a demo on our booth. And like Cevat said, we launched our Founders Pack. And we have some special goodies there, like a 6-month free opportunity, but just only for here on GITEX. So please visit us. And thank you so much for your time and your listening.
If there's any questions, we would like to take them. Yes, you have to scream a bit.
Hi, Andrew from Imperia. We're actually into identity of Web3. The question is, can you use your Room 3D with anonymous accounts?
I can just give it to you.
Yeah. So that's a great idea, by the way. I like that. No, not yet. Yeah, but I like that idea. I think this is in the spirit of getting people together, but protecting their privacy. So I think that's a brilliant idea. Thank you for that idea. You should become a Founders Plan member. That's the kind of founders we're looking for. More questions?
Hi, my name is Paul. I run a blockchain ticketing startup, and my question is, how do you guys think of scaling these concurrent experiences? Like, to what extent can you push that model of the room?
So, concurrency. So initially we are looking at making meetings functional, right? So typically the average meeting across all the meetings statistically are about 4.5 people. Right? So we're supporting up to 20 people to launch. That covers more or less 95% of the meetings. And beyond that, we will be rolling out different plans, such as an enterprise plan and so on, to cover even larger meetings following that. And as for concurrency goes for webinars and things like that, we're going to open up that as well with further technical expansion. But from a scale-up perspective, we are running a variety of clouds and a cloud infrastructure that is on auto-scale mode. So if tomorrow 10 million people flood in, we should be fine. But nobody knows. Is that answering your question?
Like a stadium setting. Like, sorry, just to push it a little bit further, like, can you imagine this moving to a stadium setting, let's say 18, 20,000 people in the same space at the same time? It seems like maybe a logical extension of what you guys are starting with here.
Imagining, yes. But no, in all seriousness, I think yes. the future of communication should be driving towards that direction, but as you know, even without video communication, without audio communication, even just by transmitting 3D positions of avatars and maybe some form of additional data, you're looking at best right now at 1,000 to maybe 5,000 users concurrently running in the same space. So, but we are working towards a different type of technology that should theoretically enable that. But this is a bit down the road more. Yeah.
When I can build on top of that, it's also the question, what is useful, right? Is what the user wants. Do you want to see 18,000 faces, like this size? So the question is where it makes sense and what are kind of logic you apply towards that. So for example, you have a big stage, you have a big audience, and you are a viewer, and then we put you into a different role. We put you on the stage to have an interviewer ask a question. You can be in a quiz show and be the person then who answers the question. And then we put you in different kinds of stages, you know, so a rule system. So I think this is really, again, what technology can do and what we really want to have. What is the experience a user want to have delivered?
He's after the 5 million people watching a match together in a stadium. Right, any more questions? Otherwise we'll wrap up. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.